Today we have a questions episode where amazing humans like yourself have submitted questions either via email or in this case also a text message, and I answer them. I love these ones. This one is going to be rapid fire. My goal is to get in, get out, and send you on your merry way. We are talking how the heck do you hit your protein goals? Should I buy lifting straps? And my hot take on pre-workouts. Is it going to be what you expect? It's hard to say. I don't know what you expect. All right, team, we are going to jump into these questions, but first, welcome to Fit After 40, the Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. Kinsey here, certified personal trainer and menopause coaching specialist. I've worked with hundreds of clients over the past 12 years and know firsthand how intimidating starting a fitness routine can be, especially in perimenopause. My goal is to teach women in midlife and beyond how to feel strong and confident in their bodies and to help them live the healthy life they deserve, free of pain, heart disease, dementia, frailty, you name it. In this show, you'll get action steps you can take today, backed by the most up-to-date research and thousands of hours of practical in-gym experience. The best time to get started may have been 20 years ago, but the second best time to get started is today. Hello, and welcome to the Fit After 40 Women's and Health Revolution podcast. Coach Kinsey here, and today we have a podcast about questions. We have a questions episode. I meant to say we have a questions episode, and then podcast came out, so I had to really zag and make it all make sense. We have a questions episode. If you don't know about these, now you know. There are those of you who, first of all, every single one of you who hears my voice in your ears at this very moment, thank you. Thank you for letting my voice take up residence in your skull. I so very, very appreciate just everyone for showing up to listen and take care of their beautiful bodies and brains, right? Because we got full lives. None of us are probably just kicking, well, maybe some of us are kicking back, but probably the majority of us here have full, busy lives, jobs, kids, school, pets, life, all the things, right? So the fact that you're taking any amount of time, whether it's on a walk, on a drive, you're working out, you're napping, and my voice puts you to sleep, I love it. I'm proud of you. Thank you for being here. This is where it all starts, right? Information is power. It unlocks avenues we never knew existed. So big thank you just for being here. And then gold star thank yous, not that it's a competition, to those of you who reach out with questions. So every so often I've accumulated enough questions that it is time to do one of these episodes. So people who reach out, today it's actually all emails, which is pretty sweet. You can also reach out with questions to my Instagram, kinsey.does.the.fitness, or hit me up on email at kinsey@fitafter40, that's 40.info. Before we jump in, I thought it'd be kind of fun. I just did a post story. Sorry guys. I did a story on the Instagram today about my current workout, and it started some pretty fun convos in the DM. So I thought it'd be fun just to talk about it here, because stories are not forever. They disappear. So I'm just going to talk about it because I got some really good insight for me as a trainer, as a human being who is also a trainer. It's just one of those things where I have been in this world for 12 years. I feel like I've been saying that for forever, for 12 years. And I've accumulated a lot of really wonderful information, a lot of great trainings over the years. And I put it into practice with my clients, and I see them thriving. I see them getting outcomes that make them feel more energized, feel more comfortable in their skin. They're moving and operating without pain in a way that they've never been able to do before. They're just all these beautiful benefits. And every once in a while, it's hard for me to practice what I preach. So that's just facts. She's just human after all. And this is really the first time in my life that I have dialed back on my training. I have always been, well, when I was younger, it was like I've talked about it on the podcast, not a cute look, right? I was over exercising all the time. I was under eating. I was miserable, right? I was not sleeping. I was losing hair. I was anxious all the time. And the crazy thing was that I didn't even realize how messed up my body, my hormones, my energy, all of it was, because I was just so in it that I didn't even realize there was another way to live until really COVID hit and things had to be dialed back in terms of what I had access to. And suddenly I was sleeping. I was still working out too much, but even just the sleep element, I was like, wait a minute, there's a different way to do this. That being said, I've always been pretty consistent with like 4 to 6 workouts a week, even though I talk about it all the time on the podcast, how there are studies that show 2 days of strength training get you 80% of the benefits, 3 get you 90%. And then for most of us, there's diminishing returns afterwards. And this is really the first time, one, I'm doing a program that literally just has me working out 2 days a week. And that was kind of like a mind F on its own. It was exactly what I said, a practice what I preach moment where I've seen it work for other people, but I had that initial resistance of like, yeah, but not for me. I hope that you've listened to that podcast that I had with Michelle White, but she made a really good point that there is a psychological effect that we have as humans where we can understand something logically, but when we have to translate it onto our own lives, we're like, yeah, that's great for you, but like that, I'm the exception. Like it works for all of you and that's wonderful, but like I'm over here defying norms. So I was a little nervous and I am doing 3 workouts a week mostly. Like last week I got 2 in, but 2 to 3 workouts a week. And I am a very active person, right? Like I spend most of the time on my feet. I get my 10,000 plus steps a day between Argo and coaching. So I move a lot, right? I've got a lot of NEAT going on, that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. But this is, like I said, the first time that I've dialed back on my workouts because for those of you who don't know, I'm in the middle of building a business, Fit After 40, strength training for menopause. It is a beautiful pursuit and I'm obsessed with it. I'm just like in love with it in like a cool way, not a weird way. I love all of the women that I get to work with. I don't know how I got so lucky, but right off the bat, like this is a group of incredible women. And we're still growing. So if you aren't a part of Fit After 40, you should be. Trust me, you are going to love the way you feel even a month into it. And honestly, you're doing it the way that I'm doing it now, which is 2, maybe 3 times a week. So definitely check out the show notes. And actually, I was going to save it for the end, but I'm just going to say it now. I've decided to do a raffle in April for a free month of Fit After 40 sessions. So if you are interested in entering the raffle, you'll just go to the link in the show notes. Totally like no strings attached. You just put your info in, you get entered into the raffle. And then if you want a couple other entryways, there's other ways. So you can like and review this podcast. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That means a lot to me. I read them all. Like I said, means a lot. You can tag me on Instagram, the Fit After 40 Studio on Instagram. You can tag a friend in the posts about it. So there's lots of ways to enter. And then the winner of the free month will be announced on May 1st. So check it out. We love a raffle moment. Like I said, no strings attached. You just pop your stuff in there. Anywho, love Fit After 40. Love it. But to any of you who have started your own business, you know that the first year is a lot of work. So on top of just being busy, I tried like a couple years ago to not use I'm busy all the time. Whatever. But now I am busy. It's just what it is, right? There's always something that can be done. And I'm a little more tired. My days start early. I go to bed. I still go to bed at like 9, let's be real. But for me, it's a longer work day. It's like 12 plus hours pretty much every day. Point is, that's just where it is. I love it. I'm actually going to talk a little bit maybe about being in the middle. That's going to be maybe a whole other podcast. It's been a little mindset shift that I've been working on for myself. And actually it's translated really nicely with some of my clients' goals. However, all of this is to say that I had to get really honest with myself about a month and a half ago. Maybe 3 months ago. Oh my gosh, it's April. Okay, about 3 months ago about how I was training because I was still trying to keep up a training schedule of at least 4 days a week. And I kept hitting walls. I kept hitting walls in my lifts. I couldn't go up. I was feeling more sore than usual. My sleep was starting to get a little funky. I was just tired all the time. And I know well enough now that workouts shouldn't do that, right? Like a lot of gyms still sell you the thing of like, no pain, no gain, no days off, bro. If you're not like sweating on the floor, are you even working out? And the fact is that workouts should actually give you energy. And if you're not feeling energized in your day, if you're noticing disruptions in your sleep, if you're kind of conking out, crashing at 2 to 3, we should really like get honest with, is this workout schedule working for me? Sometimes it's not the workout, right? Sometimes we're just stressed. Maybe we're not sleeping. Maybe we're, in perimenopause. Point is, I knew it was the workouts, especially because I've talked about this before. I did a little like stress audit of what was going on. Remember, stress is not inherently a bad thing. We need stress in our lives. That's part of how we develop, we grow, we get resilient. But we also are in a society that puts a lot of stress on us from all angles. So we have to kind of find that balance of good stress and stress that I can let go because it's making me sick. So this was one of those where there's not a lot in the business that I can really not do. I'm the only human right now. I look forward to growing my team down the line, but for right now, it's Kinsey. So all of that I had to pretty much say on. I could kind of adjust priorities, but I realized that I really had no business training like I had more time to rest. And so I looked into a program where it was primarily just 2 days of compound lifts. And then I added a third one because I actually did just enjoy it and I feel good. And if I don't feel good, I skip it, right? And I was nervous at first. And now I'm about 9 weeks in. And I'm pumped, y'all. Like, I'm kind of, like I said, it is one of those things. Sometimes there are things that we know. And I'm sure if you like take a second to think about this for yourself, we know some things inherently to be true, but we're afraid to try them because we're afraid it's not going to work for us. That was this for me. Like I said, I'm being real honest. That was it for me. And in the reality, I am getting much stronger at my lifts than I have been in a very long time. My barbell back squats and deadlifts have plateaued hardcore in the past year, and I'm building them up for the first time, like in a pretty big way. I'm feeling good during my workouts. I'm not feeling like incredibly sore afterwards. I have energy for the rest of my day because I do them in the beginning of the day. And they're supportive and it feels really good. I'm getting stronger and I'm feeling really good. As I said on the Instagram, I'm feeling good in my skin suit. You know, that's all relative, but that's part of it for me is that I want to feel good in my body, right? I like to feel strong. I like to feel healthy. I like to feel a little bit saucy in this vessel. So all these things are going really well. And it took me about 9 months. I literally hit me like a ton of bricks today when I was doing my workout, feeling really strong in a barbell back squat. And I was like, I feel good. And I haven't worked out since last Wednesday. I had quite a bit of rest. I did like a little 30-minute while I was gone in Atlanta, but it was more sort of just like, it wasn't a big one. So the point here is be brave, give yourself time for outcomes, let go of quick fixes. And we're probably not as much of an outlier as we think, right? And I now feel it in my body. 2 to 3 weeks really is like a sweet spot, especially when we have a bunch of external stressors. Again, I'm still walking when I'm not working out, but this is all just a very long segue because I don't talk too much about my own workout journey on this podcast. And like I said, I'm a big believer in the more you know, the less you know. So this was a big growing moment for me, and I'm really happy with it because I also had to do a lot of mindset work around it. It was really uncomfortable at first, and I also had to kind of be okay with like, I have a partner, for example, who works out 6 days a week, and I can sort of compare and despair if I'm not being mindful, right? And I had to just get really honest with myself about how this was what was best for me, and also it's okay that maybe my workouts at this point in my life aren't my priority. There are other things that I need my energy for. And that doesn't mean that they have to like shuffle off to the side. In fact, now I know that they can actually be just as strong as ever. They just need to be supported and cushioned on either side. So happy to report 2 to 3 workouts. It's a sweet spot. Sign up for the free month raffle so that you can feel it too, my lady. Okay. Now on to your questions. So I consolidated these down into just sort of bullet points. We'll see how much we get through. The first one I really loved because it was just, how the heck do women get 150 grams of protein a day? Love, name. And I was like, I just loved it. I loved it because it's a good question. That's a lot of protein. And the answer is kind of like this. You start small, right? Especially, it's so different for all of us. A woman who's already getting like 100, 120 grams of protein, probably not going to be that hard to bump it up to 150 versus like a woman who's like at 50 to 60 grams of protein, right? We've had Brandy Sheehan on here before. She's going to be back. I think we're recording a podcast this week, so it probably will release next week. But she's talked about, I don't know if we talked about it on here, but she talks a lot about front loading your breakfast with protein. So really letting that be like the protein punch of your day. But even if we're thinking of getting like 40 grams of protein per meal, that's 120 grams. So that's pretty darn good. And for a lot of us, just getting up to 100 grams a day is going to make a really big difference. You're going to start feeling that difference probably within the like 2 to 3 weeks, just in terms of like energy, recovery, satiety. So as with everything, I don't know exactly where this woman is coming from with where she's at with protein, but give yourself permission to ramp up slowly, right? Baby step it. Do it in a way that's something that is sustainable. And like I said, if you're going to do just like one thing, I've action-packed my protein breakfast even more than I used to in the past. So now I'm doing like 3 eggs and either like ground meat or sausages or something that really gets it up to that, like, honestly, probably about 50 grams of protein. And I feel real good until lunch. So that would be my biggest suggestion, is just pick one thing to start dialing up. And as always, let that start to get a little bit more of a no-brainer. And then you can consider adding in some more. And like I said, even if we're just aiming to get that 100 grams, that's going to be such a good start. But definitely ease in and give yourself some credit, right? You're trying. Not everything happens immediately. I had a whole other podcast planned today about being in the middle of things and how we expect these quick fixes and where did that concept even come from? I mean, really, like, I guess we're just in an era of like tap it and wins, right? Like we can order food and it gets dropped off. We can use Amazon Prim. We can take a painkiller and mask what we're feeling. You know, I guess that's kind of where it's coming from, but I never really stopped to like consider when that pivot happened. Point is, give yourself permission to go slow, because that is how you make it a habit forever. I had a really, really wonderful retreat this weekend. I went to Atlanta, which I'd never been to before, like other than just transferring or driving through. It is a pretty place, y'all. It is green and lush and it wasn't snowing. So win. And it was for a gym business retreat. So marketing and sales and the like. But one of the conversations was with, he's one of the coaches with the company, but he doesn't come from a fitness background. And I think it was one of the most powerful conversations we were having because he wasn't just someone who was of the gym background. He was coming from the background of a person who wanted to get started with fitness. He had actually just moved to his new location and was talking about testing out gyms and what that felt like as someone who doesn't really like to work out and doesn't really feel the quote unquote motivation to work out. And one thing that really stuck with me when it comes to fitness, but when it really comes to anything in regards to our health, is that we get so hyper fixated on fitness being something that changes our body, when really the approach to fitness and health changes needs to be a shift in our behavior, right? We are beginning to train ourselves to become someone who works out and identifying ourselves as, I am a person who works out. I am a person who feeds my body with robust nutrition. I am a person who talks nicely to myself. And when we come at it from a more traditional sense, a lot of it is like, I need to get smaller. I need to shrink. I need to do this. I need to hit that. I need to get 150 grams of protein. I need a hard 75, right? I have all these things I have to do. And if I don't, I failed, right? And that is still developing an identity and a behavior, but the behavior is punishing and the identity is pretty much I'm never enough and I can't do it. So what's the point, right? So that's another little one of those mindset shifts of being like, I am a person who eats 100 grams of protein a day. And eventually I'm a person who eats 120 grams of protein a day. I am a person who, when I don't get 100 grams of protein, I try again tomorrow, right? We are building this new identity around our health and fitness because for a lot of it, myself included, we weren't raised with these behaviors. These are behaviors that we have to learn. It's not about motivation. I say it all the time on the podcast. We're not unmotivated, right? We have a million things going on in life. You're doing incredible things with your life. You're not an unmotivated person. This is just something new that we have to build a habit, a behavior around. So that is where I challenge this, and protein's just an easy way to come in. Think about it as a behavior shift versus like a box to check once and then move on. Okay, so the next one was talking about how she is newer to fitness. She is starting to go up in weight. Yay, huzzah. She's doing it the right way. She went and built her foundations first, and she's wondering if she should buy lifting straps. Full disclosure, I have never actually used lifting straps, and I came like originally from a world where I was like, if you use lifting straps, then you will never build grip strength. And now I'm more of the mind of like, eventually your butt is going to outstrong your hands. So you will probably see me with some lifting straps. Muscle Science for Women is, yes, that's the name. Muscle Science for Women is a podcast that I love. And they had a little bit of dialogue on this going back and forth. And that's kind of where for the first time I was like, oh man. Because one of them was like, I don't know, what about your grip strength? And the other one's like, yeah, but how am I supposed to deadlift 300 pounds? So, I mean, yes, you can build your grip strength up for that too, but it takes time. So I'm actually not anti lifting straps. I would say grip strength still is really important. So again, it's all sort of individualized. If you're still using dumbbells, I mean, if you're like up in like 40s, 50s, 60s, and your hands are just getting tired, it might be something worth trying. As always, form first. If you are moving, like if you're unable to support it because of your mechanics, lifting straps aren't going to keep us from getting injured. But if it's because you've earned the right to go up in weight, and I say that simply as just like that, I always say lifting heavy weight is earned because we're training our body. It's a metric that we have to, or a skill that we have to learn before we can go up safely. Then yeah, try it, play around with it. Like I said, I have been thinking about getting some as well in this new training program because I'm kind of tapping out at lifting over 180 on my deadlifts without my hands get tired, but I'm also working on grip strength. Other ways to train your grip strength, right? Things like farmer's carries where you're just carrying those dumbbells. So if it is like 40 pounds that you're sort of dropping out on, consider adding in farmer's carries. I forget where I heard it. There was some test for like health and longevity that said the goal is to be able to farmer's carry 70% of your body weight. I haven't looked into the science on that, but it makes sense. It makes sense. So that could be something that you can train up outside. Dead hangs are another really good way to train grip strength. And again, just as you work with lifting weights, your hands will get naturally heavier or stronger. So again, not opposed to them. Give them a try. And I would say keep training your grip strength though, right? So don't do either or. Make sure that you're working in things like farmer's carry, dead hangs, or just like lifts without those straps. Okay, let's see. What time am I at? 22. I kind of wanted to keep this one short. Okay, there is one other one that I think will be a little too long and actually could be a conversation on its own. So I'm just going to end it with thoughts on pre-workout. I had a friend reach out to me this week. This was a text and she's like, Kinsey, I need you to tell me, is pre-workout going to kill me? And I was like, probably not. Probably not, but I did appreciate the drama. As you know, I love a little bit of drama. So, supplements, right? I move more and more in the direction of meh. I don't use a pre-workout anymore. Kind of just thought it was a waste of money. I guess I shouldn't say I don't. I do use Celsius every once in a while, which I guess isn't like the powder version, right? Where a lot of pre-workouts are just some version of caffeine, some version of a stimulant. Sometimes you have the beta alanine for the vasodilation to increase blood flow. And then generally that's also like the pins and needly one. And then like also like they throw in vitamins or like BCAAs or something like that. With supplements, I always say, do what makes you happy, right? Okay. That's a blanket statement. My first thing that I'd say is check the ingredients, because a lot of that stuff is garbage and you're better off not taking it, right? But if like the one she sent me, I don't remember what it was called. It was really low ingredient, and for the most part, like I don't know if it was third party tested, but it said it was cleaner ingredients and it did have a lower list and it didn't have sucralose and it, it was just kind of more like all natural stuff. So like if that's the case, and for her, she said she felt really good when she did it, right? She said that she felt really recovered. She said that she felt like it helped her with her workouts. So I told her, I was like, listen, whether it is legit or not, if you're feeling good and you don't mind spending the money, do it, right? There is a lot of power in placebo. If I would have thought about this ahead of time, I would have pulled up studies, because it is some wild studies on how effective placebo is in just so many different things. Our brain is amazing, right? So if you have something and it's not full of garbage and it makes you feel good, and maybe it helps you look forward to your workout, and maybe kind of like a good song, it gets you pumped up for your workout, yeah, go for it. That's why I used to do it, right? I looked forward to my Celsius before my workout. That's the thing that got me to the starting line. So as long as it's not making you feel crummy, and it's not full of crap, I'm never going to sell you a pre-workout. I guess again, never say never, but there's none in my mind where I'm like, you know what? If I had to take one pre-workout, it would be this one, because I believe in it. I don't. But I also understand how sometimes having a pre-workout ritual makes a big difference in showing up, and even makes a big difference, like I said, with that placebo effect of having a workout that you feel good about. So I'm not going to tell you to go spend your money on it. If there is one supplement that I'm going to tell you to spend your money on, it's creatine monohydrate, because that just has tons of stats. And honestly, the more that I learn about creatine monohydrate, the more I'm like, we should just all be taking this every single day, like 5 to 20 milligrams. So that would be the one that I say, go forth and prosper. And there are lots of different options for that. So just do your research. But that would be one that's worth it. Electrolytes too. I'm a big fan of electrolytes. You don't have to buy them if you don't want. Take a magnesium glycinate thing. I like to salt my water and put some lemon in it, and I feel pretty good. But electrolytes that's one, and I don't know, maybe it's my placebo, but that's one where I actually do feel a little energy boost if I'm really like depleted after a workout. So yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that's not like that's just more of a hot take on pre-workouts. I didn't come like loaded with science, but that seems to be the general consensus too among like most of the people in my space. Also like things with beta alanine, because they have that vasodilator. And this is the story that freaked her out, because I had told this to a mutual friend of ours, and she was like, Kinsey said it's gonna kill you. I didn't say that. The first time I ever did a pre-workout was back in my 20s. I was in Los Angeles. I was on Larchmont Boulevard, and I was training at Flywheel for cycling instructing. Can you imagine that? Me too. My friend and mentor, who I also am going to have on this podcast, I have to reach out to her. She's amazing. She has been in the fitness space for decades. Her name's Victoria Pal. She was really proud of me for getting this. It was my first like teaching job. So she bought me Naked Whey protein powder, which is still the protein powder I use to this day. And then she brought me this pre-workout. She basically brought me a supplement pack. And one of them was a pre-workout. And I took it, not knowing what beta-alanine was. And I sat down on the bike and we were about to have a 5-hour session of training. And the second I sat down on the bike, I started getting flush with those pins and needles, right? And I started tunnel visioning on the bike. I really wouldn't suggest a pre-workout with cardio. I don't know. Maybe there are other people who love it, but those vasodilation is a lot more important for like getting the pump in your strength training, not so much when you're doing cardio, already naturally getting your heart rate up, pumping blood a little faster. So I thought I was going to die. I wasn't actually in danger. I just didn't realize that was supposed to happen. The pins and needles, and I got really hot. This was before I started having hot flashes around my cycle. And now it's just day 19 to day 28. But that was something that I was sharing with the group. And I think the person just heard pre-workouts give you heart attacks. And that was not the case with me. I just thought I was going to have one because I had no idea what was happening. So I guess that would be my other pro tip, is maybe just be mindful. It's like everything, right? If it doesn't feel good, don't do it. If it's full of junk, skip it. Find something else that's not. I don't take pre-workout. Can you tell? Gosh. Okay, guys. Like I said, I wanted to keep this one sort of short, and I think I'm at 30 minutes, so I'm going to bail out. I love your questions. These were fun. They were short and snappy. Like I said, I have another one that's a little bit longer, goes into timelines on seeing results from strength training, if we should see results, etc. So stay tuned. That'll come in another questions episode very soon. If you have questions that you would like answered on one of these like rapid fire answered questions episodes, I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. If you have questions you would like to submit, you can reach out, Kinsey at fitafter40.info, or hit me up on the DMs on, in, around, whatevs. Kinsey does .the.fitness on the Instagram. And yeah, y'all, I think that's really all I have today. Like I said, I've got some more interviews in the pipeline. I've got Brandy Sheehan coming back on the horn, hopefully this week, but definitely in the near future. I have Dr. Jess, who is a pelvic floor therapist, coming on to talk with us. I have just got in touch with a postpartum expert. Y'all have been reaching out with those questions. And while I train women postpartum, I wanted to bring on an expert for her, because it's just one of those things where I like having someone who has really deep dove into the science, and she's had 2 kids, so she can have a really relatable experience with you as well. That one we're still kind of booking out. And like I said, Vic and I are going to try to get an episode on there. If you have any suggestions for people you'd like to hear on the podcast, send them my way. I love this stuff. And don't forget, go down into the show notes and sign up for the raffle to win a free month of Fit After 40. You're going to love the women you're working out with. You're going to love the way you feel after that first month. It's just going to be a blast. So get on in there. Even if you don't win, I'll be giving away a couple bonuses too. So get on in there. Like I said, you'll get an email afterwards saying that you've been entered, and it'll give you some extra ways to keep racking up entries. All right, y'all, short but sweet, just like this kid. Thank you as always for being here. Send me your questions. I love to hear them. And in the meantime, take care of your beautiful bodies and brains. You're so stinking worth it. Aroo.